Alright, still on this lemon haze, but I wanted to record a few thoughts I just had because it literally feels like a light acid trip or something. It's pretty insane. And came back from the restroom, looked at myself in the mirror, and lately, when I've been looking at myself in the mirror, I've been like morphing. Because right now I have like a beard, and I felt like I saw like a primal version of myself, like a bestial version, like a prehistoric version. And that's sort of how I felt this time too. But I envision myself like on a cliff, feeling the wind on my face, like same time of day, which is like early morning, like around 8 in the morning. And, up here in the north of Amsterdam, Netherlands, so it's very cool. And to just imagine feeling like the river beneath and just how great it felt, how alive I felt and how I could feel like every moment of existence, unfolding like one after another, like, frames in a movie or like flipping post-it note, whatever those things are called, like a little post-it notebook, like flipping the pages. Um, so that's how I felt like I was in that reality. It was just like Jungle Man, and I was totally in tune with what reality was, which was the great illusion. And I feel like maybe that's what we all were, as far as people native to this planet, which I feel that I am. But as I said in a previous video, that if there is some external force or someone controlling us or something, or maybe like, well, a part of us, and this is sort of where I'm getting to, like, I think everything is consciousness, you know? So different groups of people, different races, different cultures, they're just different aspects of that consciousness. So the world's problems, and I do think this planet Earth is the greatest form of reality that exists. I don't think there's some greater, like, spiritual reality. I don't know. Maybe there is, but definitely for sure this physical reality is at least one of like the greatest treasures to experience as a conscious being, I believe. And yeah, so I basically think all these different groups, that we see on Earth, fighting against each other, different races, different cultures, different ideologies. It's just different expressions of this ultimate consciousness basically arguing with itself. It's like imagine if you had different thoughts in your mind, and one thought was saying do this, one thought was saying do that, and you were just in conflict. That's basically the state of all reality, is what I believe, because everything's an expression of this original consciousness. And then I thought to myself, well, maybe there's aspects of this consciousness that wants to block us, of, block the forms or representations of consciousness that disagree with that worldview. And keep in mind, this is all happening in forms of energy. I know this is very like strange to try to explain. I'm probably doing like a terrible job, but like I said, the physical representations that we see here on Earth are just that, physical representations of fun. Think of it as energy, think of it as consciousness, whatever. But that's what all reality is. So everything we see, all these different fights, groups, wars, different, like I said, ideological. Well, I can't say that. Ideological. Yeah, there it is. Ideological. I can't say it. Ideological. Yeah, yeah. These ideological wars, just everything, all this conflict stems from just different aspects of this consciousness in conflict with other parts of this ultimate consciousness. And of course, I have to put conflict in quotations because there's no such thing as conflict, just like there's no such thing as anything. Everything is just a construct by us, this ultimate consciousness, God, which we all are, and I think are part of. It's all is one is all is one. Have you seen Full Metal Alchemist? Yeah, it's definitely true, I believe. But, and obviously many other spiritual faiths, whatever you want to call them, belief systems, they believe it as well, from what I've read. And I probably got the idea from them and disagree with it. But it is out there, and I do think it's, this idea came to some human being at some point in time for a reason. And that's because it's true, I believe, that everything is one. And I think, parts of this consciousness represents in our plane, in our physical reality, certain groups of human beings that want to block us off, block the rest off from experiencing the best this reality has to offer for selfish reasons, because it's just the way it chooses to express itself. And, that's represented by different people that do things on this planet in selfish ways. And I do think these ideas are probably passed down from obviously people much higher. There are many people that work towards this goal that don't even know they're working towards it. They're just trying to make money, and that's what I'm trying to say, the state of this world. And I do think we're taken away from like the natural wonders of the world. They remind us that this reality is an illusion because we were put in boxes, we were put in homes, and every, we've made like the interior world the comfortable one, but naturally we should be living out there. And I would love to, but if I went out there one day, I'd probably be crying because I probably couldn't handle it, And yeah, but I do try to get out as much as possible. I do, but I'm not gonna go live in the woods because I think I can experience. See, the thing is, I came to the same realizations that I would have if I was in the woods. So now I can combine the best of both worlds. Modern comforts, quote unquote, which is, like I said, you could also see as a prison for your mind. I can enjoy the prison because I know that it is a prison, you know, and I can enjoy everything within it, but also be able to step outside of it. So I don't know. I think that's the best of both worlds. But yeah, so because my point is, I really feel like just everything's been designed to block us from this like natural connection to the world we have by basically domesticating human beings. So that's what I think, by putting us in houses and making us wear shoes and clothes and, shave and cut our hair and all these things. But yeah, I definitely think like, human beings as we were, definitely had much more of a connection to the world, to the world around them, and knew that this world was all an illusion. And that's important because once you know that, then you can live this life to its maximum potential, or at least get closer to that, because you can control yourself and physically and mentally and spiritually and emotionally, because nothing exists. So you can make it what you want. And that basically lets you live this life in a much happier way, which, like I said, there's lots of other people out there that are selfish about that. They don't want to share that happiness, the most valuable thing that exists, which is, positive energy. But that's the truth that brings happiness, positive energy. And in order to be able to increase your happiness, it's important to know who you truly are, and that you are truly in control of your reality in every way, shape, and form. And obviously that takes away, if you know that, then that takes away control. And that's why those in control don't want people to know that. But it's pretty obvious, I think, especially like the more you get out and the more you explore. I mean, these ideas just sort of came to me, but I think I've always like suspected them. But yeah. And what else was I gonna say? So that's the state of the world, and that's the way you can free yourself, which is being, remembering that everything is one, and that you're completely in control of your own reality, literally, in every way. I mean, I'm not saying, a horse is just gonna appear from the sky if you imagine it, but what I'm saying is once you put that thought in your mind, and you're truly serious about bringing it, into a physical reality, and then you start working towards it. Maybe you start saving up money, or you start, looking up online how to get it done, and eventually, there's a time delay, but if you put enough focus and thought into it, which means translates into physical work, then eventually it does become a reality. Either that or you die trying. But the point is, as long as you're still alive in this world, you do have a possibility of bringing your ideas to life. Some way, shape, or form, if you have at least like conscious thought. Though maybe in some cases, like, someone's been severely like medically destroyed. Maybe technology is not advanced enough to be able to communicate their conscious thoughts yet, but I think one day even that'll be possible. But the point is, if there was technology that could read someone's conscious thoughts, no matter what physical state they were in, then yeah, as I said, it's possible to always be able to create your own reality as long as you're still alive. Because eventually you would bring it to life if someone knew what you wanted. So, yes, that's the point. You can create your own reality, which increases your happiness. And those were some of the thoughts that just came to my mind. But then I also thought, like, okay, well then, what is reality? Like, what is? I mean, why is there something instead of nothing? You know, like the Big Bang supposedly started. Okay, even if you believe that, like, what was before it? Why did it start? And then I thought to myself, and I thought, why do I think that? Why am I so obsessed over that? And I realized, oh, it's because, as human beings, we think of everything in terms of one action is preceded by another action, right? This leads to that. That's how things happen in our time. And, well, they basically just gave away the spoiler, or spoiler alert, time, because I asked myself, well, why do we think in that way that one action leads to another? Therefore, because I'm always asking myself, okay, well, what came before the ultimate consciousness? Why is it there instead of not there? What came before God? What came before the Big Bang? However you want to phrase it, it's the same thing. What came before everything started? And that's what I've always wondered and had absolutely no question, no answer to. Um, but what I realize now is that the reason I've always wondered that, the reason I think that, I started asking myself, why am I even thinking? Like, maybe I started thinking about the question completely differently. And I asked myself, well, why do I need to know what's before? And I realized, oh, it's because here on this physical plane, time exists, or at least we think it does. I think we will it into being, because we all choose to believe it, and especially our own reality, we're creating right now, which is that we believe moments pass, which we've, measured a certain length of time, quote unquote, and said this is 1 second, this is 1 minute, this is 1 hour, this is 1 day, and so on and so forth. But that's just a construct, it's not real. It's just a construct, and it's something very hard to accept because we say, no, we can see the sun moving. There is such a thing as time. Yeah, but time's moving forward because we're imagining the next moment, essentially. We're creating the next moment because that's what we believe will happen and should happen. And we can't really stop that. It might be something that automatically happens. Physical reality. I don't know. I'm not saying I understand the the workings of all of reality, but I truly feel like we create it. We create every preceding moment. So I started thinking, okay, but then this reality, this illusion. So then I thought, okay, that's a construct, and that means there's no time. And then I thought to myself, well, what if you froze one of those moments? And this reality as you're moving, you froze one moment. Okay, so now there's no time, right? The frozen moment. The frozen moment in time. And imagine you were outside of the box of where the frozen moment is contained. You're looking at it from different angles, and it's just sitting there, frozen, right? But where are you now? You're in nothing. It just goes on forever. It's just frozen. There's no time. There's no space. That's what all reality is. That's what God is. That nothing is a human concept. That came to me also. The idea of there being nothing is something that's man-made. That's right. I think that was the term that came to me, man-made. The idea of there being nothing is man-made. So the point is that I believe that there is nothing that came before the ultimate consciousness, before God, before the Big Bang, however you want to look at it. There's nothing that came before, because where it is, there is no space and no time. It's like that frozen moment we're looking at, contained in the box. It's just like an eternal frozen moment. That's what all reality is. There is no before or after. It's just an eternal, frozen, ever-expanding moment And of course, I say ever expanding in quotes because there's no such thing as space. But that's what reality is. There's no time, there's no space. It's like a frozen moment. So there is no before or after. Reality has just always been. And that's so hard to understand to someone that understands reality in a form of moments. But I think I have a much better understanding of it now than I could have in the past. Yeah, that's what I wanted to record, basically. Just because that thought came to me, and I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. And I don't know, I hadn't ever thought of it in that way before. Because I'd always wondered, like, when I was a kid, I used to ask, well, what came before God? If God created everything, who created God, or what, or basically the beginning, the trigger, what was, what was before the spark, you know, or why was there even a spark, or what is a spark, and what is creation, what came before it? Like I've always wondered that because that would make sense of this reality to me, you know, and what it was because it seems so strange to me that we're just all floating around and being able to think and occupy space, quote unquote. Um, and now I think I have a better understanding of it. I really do. I think I have a better understanding of it. It's there is no before. It's just an eternal frozen moment. And of course, when I say moment, that's the best word I can think of to describe it because obviously there's no sense of time. There's no time doesn't exist really, and what this reality actually is. So saying a moment means that there must have been something else, but that's the best way that I can describe it with my human vocabulary currently. Frozen moment. That's what reality is. So, yeah, that explains everything. Well, not everything, but a lot of the main questions that I've always had as far as what this reality is. So it's an eternal frozen moment that's just conscious, consciously, a conscious, eternal frozen moment. That's what reality is. And that super consciousness, ultimate consciousness, whatever consciousness actually is, which is just what everything is, I guess. That super consciousness I split off and created all types of worlds and animals and places and groups of people and ideologies and yeah, it's just living. It's just the big cosmic game. That's right. That was the last bit of what I thought of. That reality, life is really just a game, And why? Because otherwise there'd be nothing to do, you know. It's just a big cosmic game, just exploring itself, its own abilities. That's what I believe the super consciousness is doing. Just being, just existing, Because that's just like the state of this reality. If there's something beyond this, I don't know. My brain's always thinking what's beyond, but of course, eventually you have to hit a ceiling, right? A roof. Otherwise, you're going forever. And that's the thing. You either go on forever or you hit a roof. But would a roof make sense? Not really, right? So it's either forever or something else, and that's why in my mind I couldn't understand it. But now that I think of the frozen eternal moment, it finally made sense. It's just always been. So that's what reality is, in my opinion. And everything that's happening, everything that's happened in human history is just a big cosmic game, you know, and that's it. So that's what life is, just a big cosmic game. And why not? It's fun, right? It feels great. Like it's great to eat, like, you know, like Cypher did in the Matrix, like a good steak, you know, to go swimming, to feel loved, you know, to go on a vacation, to go parasailing, just tons of amazing things. I mean, of course, everyone enjoys different things, but those are some of the things I've done that I really have enjoyed, and a lot of other things that I've really enjoyed. So that's great. You know, what more do you want than the beauty that this life has to offer? Is there really anything better? I'm not sure there is. But yeah, so that's what I think this life is. It's just like a trip. You know, it's just like it's like you're playing a video game, and that's about it. Then it's over, and then you can play it again if you want with a different character. You know, like reincarnation. Really, yeah, reincarnation. I'm sure is true. It reminds me, like I was just watching this Rick and Morty episode, um, where they were like in, I don't know, it's like futuristic arcade. I don't know, I'm sure, I forget, I've only seen the episode like once, but I saw this clip where Morty plays this game. I forget what it was called, but it's a game where you start off as like a kid, and you know, you live this guy's like whole life, and at the end, like, I don't know, he just died or something, and then he woke up and he snapped out of the game, and he couldn't remember like who he was, and he had to remind himself that he was like Morty. Um, yeah, and then Rick started playing, you know, and people were screaming, "Oh, this guy's taking I forget the character's name that you play as, but it's like he's taking him off the grid." You know, he's just basically that's what life is. You know, if you think of it's just if you think of Rick or Morty playing the game as a super consciousness, and then we're that character in the video game. It's just like a super consciousness living out, protect their human life, just see what it's like, and then that's it, and then repeat. Yeah, and that's not so bad. Anyway, so that's my little audio log about what I think this reality is, and just some thoughts that came to me about this reality and the nature of it.